In this video I want to talk about a very serious matter that is unknown to most traders all over the world, and it has to do with the ultimate goals of some market makers. As you can probably imagine, not all large traders have the same goals. Most of these market tycoons have the goal of making billions of dollars and simply excel at the complex series of games called financial markets. However, some large traders already have all the money they could possibly want, and that leaves the door open to the question of what exactly their motivation is to wash millions of retail traders out of their position on a constant basis. Here is where we have to get comfortable with the idea of meta-capitalism. A capitalist in the financial markets is a person who is after profit for obvious reasons, and this person understands that capitalism is what describes the underlying foundation of any financial market. That's the case because supply and demand is a natural mechanism that regulates itself automatically without any sort of centralized intervention. In simpler terms, there is nothing more capitalist than the financial market in its purest form. The ultimate goal of a trader is profit, but there are traders who end up succeeding so incredibly well in the market to the point they lose interest in profit. That's where the concept of meta-capitalism begins to appear. The word meta means beyond, so a meta-capitalist is a person whose goals and aspirations go beyond capitalism, despite the fact that this person uses capitalist mechanisms to achieve such goals, which is in itself a big irony. Some market makers are meta-capitalists. This basically means that they use the market not for profit, but as a mean to get somewhere else in their agenda. This idea gets increasingly complicated as we move forward, so pay close attention to these details. You might be thinking what the goal of a trader in the market could be if not profit. The answer is quite simple. The only goal beyond money in the market is power, and power can assume all sorts of different forms and express itself inside and outside the market. The first problem with this idea is that a trader who is already wealthy does not really care about making huge amounts of money, so after a certain point, generating a lot of profit does not have the same satisfactory feeling that it has when traders are struggling to become consistently profitable. However, the sensation of acquiring more power never gets old, and that's a big problem if the person with the wrong ideas gets interested in it. For example, one of the widely known meta-capitalists is called George Soros, which is the man who beat the British pound in the Black Wednesday in 1992. Soros has a political agenda that extends itself far beyond the financial market, but the market is the primordial way he has to collect money. This extraordinary amount of money that Soros is able to collect by legally manipulating retail traders through the mechanisms we already talked a lot about in the channel is directly funneled to his non-profit organization called Open Society Foundations. Here lies the big paradox in this wicked story. The political agenda of George Soros is to foment radical leftist groups all over the world through the gate of Open Society Foundations. The problem is that extreme left ideology is totally incompatible with capitalism. In fact, the radical left absolutely hates capitalism down to its core. Here's a paradox for you. In objective terms, George Soros is one of the most capitalist men on earth, and he has an incredibly powerful arsenal of tools to profit in the market. As you can imagine, he's not exactly an amateur trader. On the contrary, he is one of the world expert traders, and that's really something as we all know too well. However, Soros is also a meta-capitalist whose goals do not include profit, but include radical leftist political agenda. In basic terms, George Soros exploits a purely capitalist mechanism to feed an anti-capitalist machine. You might even ask why someone would do such a thing. The answer is that this is a very good way of acquiring political power, which seems to be the core of Soros' objectives. The dissemination of extreme left ideologies can be viewed as a good way of centralizing power. This is how the purely just and decentralized capitalist mechanism called financial markets can be used against itself. An even greater irony here is that all of this is only possible because of a feature of this natural mechanism of supply and demand in the markets. When someone has too much money, this person can manipulate large masses of traders legally. This is capitalism going to an extreme and being used as a weapon against itself. This is probably one of the greatest paradoxes of the financial markets. You can make judgments about the ethics of someone like George Soros, and you can engage in all sorts of political discussions about the reasons behind this, but all of this is not illegal. He is just using the extreme representation of capitalism against itself. This is one of those things that give you a lot to consider about the complexity of the world we live in. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. If you like this channel and wish to support us in any way, don't forget to subscribe and leave your feedback below. If you want to learn how to trade like a professional, don't forget to check the Fractal Flow Strategy video course in our strategy store. Thank you for watching.